Josh Gates is finally telling what really happened in Season 7 of Expedition X. The cameras were rolling when the crew started their night in what seemed like a normal investigation. But within hours, lights failed, radios went dead, and the team was rushed out under direct orders. That episode never aired the way it was filmed. Today, for the first time, Josh reveals what forced production to stop. Before we get into it, hit subscribe so you don't miss the truth. Season 7 of Expedition X was supposed to be the biggest season yet. Ratings were super high, and the production team got permission to check out a place that had been turned down before because of safety worries. According to notes from inside planning that crew members talked about later, this spot was picked because it was seen as the most extreme place the show had ever gone to. The area was far away, covered in thick forest, and miles from any real road. Equipment had to be driven in on off-road vehicles, and then carried by hand for the last part. Even before cameras started, crew members said electronics acted weird, like brand-new batteries dying for no reason. As the sun went down, Josh Gates showed up on site to watch the start of filming himself. That showed this was not a regular episode. The plan looked simple on paper. Set up base camp, take environmental readings, watch possible high-activity spots, and run tests all night. But within the first hour of filming, the air readings started jumping around a lot. The temperature dropped several degrees in just minutes. Even though the weather didn't change, digital meters showed spikes that looked like electromagnetic pulses. Crew felt what seemed like vibrations moving through the ground without any sound. Josh reportedly stopped filming and told the crew to stay quiet as he looked at the horizon. He later said the air felt charged and that the team was no longer watching. They were being watched. That was the first sign something was seriously wrong. The place picked for the Season 7 investigation was more than just far away. It was restricted. Records show that in the early 1990s, the land around it was closed off for a while after several people went missing and were never found. Official reports called them lost hikers, but people who live nearby say the missing ones were part of an unofficial geology survey group. According to old rumors, search teams found their gear neatly stacked near some rocks, while their GPS trackers kept sending signals from miles away. No footprints, no signs of a fight, and no real explanation. Before filming started, Josh Gates met with a local historian who warned him not to film after dark. The historian talked about an abandoned building deep in the forest that used to be a weather station. It got shut down after the workers refused to stay there anymore. Their reason, from stories passed down, was that instruments only showed pressure changes when no one was around. When someone went in, all readings stopped. Older investigation teams had notes about what they called whisper corridors, narrow paths where quiet voices repeated the same words. When asked, each person thought they heard something different. Despite the warnings, production went on, and base camp was set near the old outpost's foundation. Within 30 minutes of setting up, a field technician said he heard what sounded like metal scraping under the ground. Moments later, his compass started spinning non-stop. Josh wrote this in his field notes, calling it the first clear sign that this place had been waiting. That night, they would find out what for. As darkness covered the site, the forest got strangely quiet. Normally, Expedition X crews pick up insects, far-off birds, and moving branches at night. But this night, the microphones caught nothing. No wind, no night sounds, not even leaves rustling. Sound technician notes later called it like the whole place breathed out once, then stopped breathing. The silence became the first strange thing recorded that evening. At about 9:15 p.m., Josh Gates told the team to start thermal scans around the edges. Using handheld high-sensitivity cameras, the crew swept the tree line slowly. Normally, this finds warm shapes like animals or people sneaking in. What the cameras showed instead were moving spots colder than the air around them. Fast, blurry zones that appeared, then disappeared. One operator swore he saw a tall vertical shape almost 9 feet high pass between two trees, but the image vanished when they replayed it. He asked to recalibrate right away. The device checked out fine. Around 9:30, the lead investigator went to Josh looking worried. She said she felt sudden pressure in her chest, like being high up on a mountain. 2 other team members felt the same thing seconds later. They checked radios, but several headsets got bursts of static, even when people were less than 20 feet apart. Josh stayed calm, asked for quiet, and told his team not to move or talk. For almost 20 seconds, everyone froze. In the raw, unedited video, the only sound was what many think was a faint breath, followed by one low word right behind one camera. The audio was hard to make out. Some think it said watch, watch. Others think leave. One production assistant said it sounded like her own name, even though she was yards away with no mic near her. Josh didn't react right away, but soon after the playback he quietly said, "We are not alone out here. Keep going, but stay together." That order changed everything from investigating to just trying to stay safe. By 10:15 that night, the weird silence in the forest felt scarier than any loud threat. Josh Gates told the crew to move toward a thick, wooded ridge where daytime scans had shown more activity. Before they moved, the audio engineer played back the earlier sound near the cameras. This time he pulled out low frequencies below normal hearing. When he made it louder and slower, the whisper turned into broken sounds. Several crew stepped back as they listened. The words sounded like 5 separate sounds. Close to you, should not stay. Even though people heard slightly different words, everyone agreed whatever said it meant it. Tension shot up fast. Josh tried to stay calm and reminded everyone they were there to check facts, not make drama. Still, rules said they had to switch to a tight group formation. Cameras went to full spectrum. Motion sensors got placed in a circle around the area, and everyone had to keep eye contact with at least one other person at all times. At 10:30, the first big, uncontrolled, weird thing happened. A metal equipment case sitting flat on level ground near a tree slid almost 3 feet with no one touching it. The ground was flat. No slope, no shake, no reason for it to move. 2 cameras pointed right at it. One caught the slide. The other, at a slight angle, lost focus for a second in what looked like a wave of distortion spreading from the middle of the clearing. Seconds later, another shift happened. A thermal camera on a tripod turned on its own and pointed straight into the dark. Crew said its lens stayed locked on one spot for almost 5 seconds before a sudden heat spike showed up. The reading showed something about the size of a grown person standing still in the coldest part of the clearing. But no one was visible. Josh Gates walked to the monitor and quietly asked if any buildings, roads, or power lines were close enough to cause problems. The nearest way in was over 2 miles away. No known shelters, no vehicles logged on the service road. As the heat signal pulsed, then disappeared, Josh turned to the field producer and said, "If whatever that is can move gear, we need to rethink our safety line." Moments later, they stopped moving toward the ridge. After deciding not to go to the ridge, Josh Gates quickly met with the lead producer, the safety person on site, and the tech leads. They talked under red lights to keep night vision while filming, paused for clear thinking. Josh made it clear the goal had changed from getting more evidence deeper in to figuring out if the danger was just reacting or actually thinking. He suggested a safe test. Instead of going farther into the woods, they would try interacting with the environment from their current spot to see how it answered. At 11:10, cameras started again. The team put simple objects at even spaces around the clearing's edge. Things like plastic water bottles, flagged markers, and a small battery lantern. This setup came from a method used in Australian cave work, where possible entities reacted when patterns changed. The lantern blinked slowly every 5 seconds, while motion sensors watched anything coming within 10 yards. Josh stood by the lantern with 2 crew members explaining what they were doing for the record. He spoke straight to the darkness, saying clearly they would stay at the edge of the area and inviting anything there to touch the light. His voice stayed even and calm, following Expedition X rules for non-challenging talk for almost 3 minutes. Nothing happened. The crew waited in total quiet, only hearing the lantern blink. Then motion sensors went off with no one visible. 2 bottles fell at the same time, one hitting the ground so hard it bounced almost 6 feet away. The lantern dimmed fast, then got super bright, way past its normal setting. A camera gave a proximity warning from something unknown. Audio gear picked up a burst of low sound like high-pressure changes. The wave hit hard enough to make 2 team members stumble. One said his ears hurt bad, and he felt dizzy. The lantern stopped blinking and stayed locked in a solid beam pointed at the setup tables. Josh quickly told everyone to back up toward the vehicles. As they moved back, more things happened. A sudden wind cut through the clearing even though weather gear showed no air moving. The wind stayed in one small spot, like something passed right by them. No voices got recorded, but one mic caught what the sound guy later called fast breathing right behind the crew. Though no one was there, at 11:17, the lead producer called a stage red alert and started evacuation. Stage red is the top emergency level and triggers full pullout. At 11:17, they left all non-essential gear. Camera rigs got locked to keep recording as people paired up and headed to the vehicle meeting spot. The safety coordinator led with Josh Gates in the middle to keep talk going as they pulled back. Everyone had to report any body feelings right away, out loud and on body mics. As they moved, the lantern, still way too bright, stayed pointed right at the group. Many later said the beam didn't come from a still object, but followed them slowly along the edge. No camera showed the lantern turning. The light just changed angle with no clear reason. At 11:19, all 3 main communication devices failed at once. Field radios went to white noise. Satellite phones cut off without warning lights. And for the first time ever on Expedition X, even the emergency locator beacon started sending error messages. Tech logs called it triple system failure, with no weather or signal reason. Weather stayed clear. Pressure normal. No big electromagnetic hit at that exact time. Josh ordered switch from slow walk back to fast pull out. No one yelled in panic, but audio caught heart rates jumping on several mics. A low camera picked up dirt moving parallel to the group, like something big dug just under the surface. The movement lasted about 12 seconds, then stopped when they hit the gravel road. At 11:21, one crew member suddenly felt chest tightness and trouble breathing. She got pulled from the main line and taken to the closest vehicle. A medic called it stress-caused breathing shutdown, but thermal video showed a cold spot around her right before it started. Temp dropped 10 degrees Fahrenheit in a spot about the size of a person, though nothing showed up. Josh Gates talked it into record while still moving, saying, Evidence has gone past what we can handle. Full retreat is happening for crew safety. Risk needs immediate after-action talk. At 11:23 p.m., 3 vehicles left the site. Recording gear kept going on its own until batteries died around 11:38. What happened in that last 15-minute window, especially what stopped production completely, only came out after review, and it forced Josh Gates to make a choice that stopped filming for the rest of Season 7. In the hours after the fast retreat, the whole Expedition X team met at the temporary command trailer a few miles from the site. It was just after midnight when Josh Gates got there, still in field clothes, looking focused more than scared. Production bosses joined by live call, and the team started watching the last 15 minutes of video caught after they left. Everyone expected fuzzy static, or maybe far-off nature sounds. No one expected what showed up. Just over 1 minute after the last vehicle left the road, 3 cameras still running in the clearing caught pressure ripples moving across the ground. The lantern left exactly where T was, blinked once, then shut off, even with over 70% battery left. Seconds later, motion set off the infrared camera near the gear table. What appeared lasted only 5 seconds, but it was enough to make production stop all field filming. The image showed a tall, blurry figure standing right where the crew had been, its shape shifting like hot air waves. It didn't go near the gear. Instead, it turned slowly toward where the vehicles went before folding in on itself and disappearing without moving sideways. Audio caught a low, soft exhale, almost too quiet to hear. When the video ended, the trailer stayed dead quiet. Josh Gates spoke first, saying clearly, "This is no longer a test of staying alive. This is contact without asking." He suggested stopping all-night investigations until a full check could happen, even if it meant delaying the rest of Season 7. It was the first time Josh ever asked for that. When Josh Gates suggested stopping fieldwork, the production room split right away. The field team agreed fast. They saw it themselves and felt pushing more without checking would be wrong. But the network people on the call paused. Stopping mid-season meant big money loss, contract problems, and missing episode dates. Quiet stretched on the call until one boss finally asked if Josh thought the thing was a real physical danger or just something needing extra care. Josh answered fast. It moved gear without touching. It moved in ways tech and physics don't explain. It showed awareness and acted only after we tried to talk to it. That's behavior, not random noise. After that, talk changed. A temporary stop got approved at 1:26 a.m. All on-site people had to write full statements. A third-party risk expert came in to check video along with a senior tech analyst from the show's early engineering group. Data went to main servers for deep checks. What bothered most was the quiet understanding that they weren't just dealing with something unknown. They were dealing with something that dealt back with them. Over the next 40 minutes, Josh wrote a first report saying future work in places like this would need new rules, like more space between people, earlier stop times, and a required safe zone from active weird stuff. He ended the report with a rare note in field papers. Recommend strategic withdrawal pending clarification of intent. In the weeks after, Expedition X became the most careful it had ever been since starting. Field parts left for the season got pushed back or moved to very controlled spots. Josh Gates personally checked all future shoot plans, saying no more trips until the incident got checked and written up by outside people. Behind the scenes, big network talks moved from schedules to legal risks. A small group formed to decide if the footage could air at all without heavy cuts. Inside review confirmed the figure in the clearing wasn't a camera mistake, file glitch, or infrared error. Its shape had real heat shift, but no clear body parts. What scared analysts most was that its spot matched exactly where Josh stood before ordering pullout. In other words, it didn't show up random. It showed up where they decided to test contact. After the report got shown, Josh gave one last statement to the production board. "We met something that reacted to what we intended. If we go back, we need to know exactly what it answered to. Right now, that is the main question. Was it nearness, watching, or the act of trying to connect?" Season 7 wasn't cancelled, but it got delayed. A new rule got added to inside papers saying any similar field trip must eat Ava no-contact phase first before trying interaction. Some crew chose not to come back for later filming. Josh Gates has not shared the full story in public, but several staff say the footage still sits locked away, waiting for a final call. Whether it will air, or whether it even should, stays open. Moments ago, breaking reports said an Expedition X crew member got rushed to the hospital after a scary thing during an episode that never got to air. According to inside sources, filming was going at a faraway research spot when something unseen caused a bad medical emergency, making production stop right away. Josh Gates and the team reportedly saw it happen live, but no video ever went out. Tonight, we are finding out what really happened during the uncut trip that almost killed the show for good. Subscribe so you don't miss anything. Production records show the episode was set to check a place kept secret, even in planning notes, called only Zone 9. This spot had been turned down by network safety rules before, because of past problems with losing gear and sensors shutting off for no reason. But on this trip, producers thought new safety monitoring would make it okay and everything looked safe.